Hi, I'm Aaron Stash with the Electric Home Show, here again with Alex Long in Champaign, Illinois. We're talking about electrifying his 105-year-old home. And we talked about the serve and the HVAC systems with mini splits. Now we're talking about another heat pump system. So this is your heat pump water heater. Talk to us a little bit about how this works. I'm Aaron Stash. Welcome to the Electric Home Show. We're here today in Champaign, Illinois to look at this 105-year-old all-electric house. Let's go take a look. Talk to us a little bit about how this works.
Sure. So this is a Richmond brand, which is a Menards brand labeled Ream heat pump water heater. So it's a 50-gallon tank. And then, it's got Wi-Fi built into it and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not really, who cares? But it has this top section that is a fully enclosed heat pump. And this does all of the heating and everything that you need for the water. So this single pipe here, that's the electrical that comes into it. They make a 120 or a 240 volt version of it. And then...
and which one is this?
So this is the 240 volt version. And then you've got the standard water outlet and water inlet going to it.
Right.
And then the only other difference is it's got a condensate drain. So this will produce a bit of, it'll condense some moisture out of the air. And so essentially the way it operates is it's taking the air from around us. It captures the heat from that, it removes heat from that and puts the heat into the water. And so in doing that, it's cooling down the air. It'll drop out moisture from the air too.
Okay.
And so it'll drain that out for it.
And it's March right now. We were talking a little bit about how in the summertime in your basement here, you don't really need to run an air conditioner because this is really acting as your air conditioner.
Right.
But opposite to that in the winter, does this affect the air temperature here?
Yeah, and that's a good point. A lot of people like to cram every mechanical stuff into a tiny room.
Yeah.
And that's where we've seen people have issues with heat pump water heaters, is because it's cooling down the space around you. If you enclose it in a little box, it's going to air condition that box, and then its efficiency drops. They can even sometimes kind of freeze up. And so having proper air movement through that space or conditioning for that space. So down here, I've got a ductless heat pump on the wall, and that is helping to heat the air down here in the winter time because it does get a bit chilly, even with insulation on the walls. But that warm air also helps counteract the cooling effect that the heat pump water heater has. You can almost think of it as a two-stage heat pump water heating. So this is cooling down the air. That's heating up the air, but it's pulling heat from outside. So it's taking air from outside, capturing the heat of that.
Your heat pump, your ductless mini split is taking that air from outside.
And heating
then
that
it in here.
And kind of indirectly using it to heat the water.
Well, and maybe another good example of how a house itself is a system, right?
Yes.
Everything works together. Your heat pump water heater is working with your mini split. It's all being affected by the rest of the house, how much air is around, as well as the insulation you put in.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's been working great. I put this in, I think, the end of 2020. And between tax rebates and state rebates for it, I think the total cost was maybe around $800 or so. Wow. They're a little bit more expensive now. Things have gone up in price, but there are some great energy incentives for going to a heat pump water heater. But then year to year, I'm spending maybe about $80 worth of electricity to heat my water for the entire year. And that's maybe 4 times less than what I was paying with gas.
I was going to say, so you had a gas system in here before, and then we were talking about the, how it's charged or how it's plugged in. You had to run a line then for the 220.
Yeah. And there are some with 120 that make it a little bit easier. Basically, it's a hybrid heater. So it does have electric elements in there. So in my case, I don't have a huge hot water demand. Someone who has a couple kids who are taking long showers, that might run through your tank fairly quickly. So they do make 60, 70, 80 gallon tanks. And then they also make them with the electric elements as backup too. So it can primarily use that heat pump, but let's say they're just draining the hot water from the tank. It can kick on those electric elements too to help keep that water a bit
It's
warmed
basically
up.
an electric water heater from here down.
Exactly.
And then this heat pump is actually doing
Yeah.
hopefully the majority of the work because it's going to be more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
But if needed, you've got elements in there.
Yeah, and you can configure that. So for this one, I've turned off those electric elements. Those never come on. It's always heat pump. And if I run out of hot water for the house, that's my own problem. That's my own fault.
Yeah.
So it's just changing my behavior, but I never really have that issue.
And what about the sound? We hear oftentimes that these can be loud units. I mean, we're here in your basement, so there's nobody sleeping next door in the other room.
Right. This is kind of first generation, I'd say, of the heat pump water heaters, and they've gotten a lot better.
Okay.
But it does make a bit of noise, so I can bump this up. And so kick it on.
Okay.
So
sounds like a fan.
That's the sound that it makes. It is not bad. Occasionally you'll get a bit of whining from the bearings in here, and I think that's just this one in particular. But most of the time it just sounds like this. I don't know if the microphones will pick this
I mean, it'll
up,
probably pick up a little bit. It might be on noise canceling, but you know, this sounds, you know, like a refrigerator running.
Right.
Kind of that temperature, that sound level.
Yeah, it's
maybe a little higher than that, but
it's really not bad. I don't notice it. It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
It will. So from
we
here,
can feel the air
it'll blow cold air out of here. They do make some units where you can attach a duct to here, so you could pipe this into your central system too, and that way it's not cooling down that space. So. In the case where you may have a small utility room that has your water heater, that has your furnace, what you can do is you can duct this directly to your furnace.
Yeah.
So that then that's helping move that air out and you're not cooling down that tiny utility room.
I will say this is louder than the LG model that we looked at, but again, that's 4 years newer than this version.
Right.
Is there a reason for, let's turn that off.
Sure.
Just like the model that you chose, was it, hey, this is where I shop and that's kind of what they have available, or?
For me, it was price.
Okay.
Between the rebates and everything, you know, Ream and Richmond, like they had great reviews for this one, and I've had nothing but positive experiences with it too.
Yeah.
But for me, it was kind of, this one was around that $800 after rebates level, where then like A.O. Smith and some of the other ones at that time, those were getting up to be maybe closer to $2,000.
Okay.
And I didn't see that much of a reason to jump up to that level. Like it's heating my water.
Right.
I don't care about
doing what
the
it needs to
Wi-Fi
do.
connection. It is nice that, so I have energy monitoring through the house, so I can monitor what the energy consumption of that is. But at the end of the day, it's a water heater. It heats my water.
Right. And then I see it does have a filter system up top here, right?
Yes.
So similar to like a ductless mini split, again, it's a heat pump.
Yeah.
How often do you need to clean that out, or?
Not really ever.
Okay,
I mean, so it pulls air from the top here and then goes over that filter. And then the evaporator coil, the cooling coil, is just right in here.
Okay.
It just pulls it through that, blows it out here. And so that, you know, every once in a while, I'll just take a vacuum and just kind of vacuum it out. But you don't need to buy filters for it or anything like that.
Great home show. All right. If you're a homeowner interested in a healthy, energy-efficient electric home, reach out to us at electrichomecompany.com to schedule your free virtual coffee today. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Aaron Stash with the Electric Home Show. We're here again with Alex Long, who's invited us into his home. Thank you again so much.
Sure.
So what's next, right? The house is electric. We see you've got the electric cooktop. Downstairs you had the electric dryer. You know, they're working, they're functional, but like what's kind of the plan?
Yeah, so those were original to the house when I got it 12 years ago. That washer and dryer set's probably, I think it's about 35 years old.
Okay.
You know, they'll run themselves into the ground.
If it ain't broke, don't fix
exactly.
it. Right?
But I do want to replace those. So the new heat pump dryers everything I've seen about them is great. I'd love to get rid of that vent that's just exhausting air outside. And then even the new all-in-one units look really nice.
Yeah.
Just throw your clothes in there, set it to go, and then come back 2 hours later and it's all done. So that's kind of one of my next upgrades.
Okay.
Kitchen for sure. I'd done a little bit to the kitchen when buying the house, but still original stove and cooktop, still the original vent hood. It definitely looks like the original one.
Yeah.
And that's got a vent going outside. So I'd like to get rid of that vent, replace this, replace that. And that's more of a quality of life thing.
Sure.
An induction cooktop or another electric cooktop is going to be as efficient as this cooktop. But just having, a nicer kitchen. And that's just kind of a less energy and more feel of the house type
Yeah,
deal.
absolutely. Right. It's like we're not recommending you replace things if they're working fine. On the electrification journey, there's definitely steps and a plan.
Yeah.
How about like your power bills, right? Like what's that look like?
So since I got solar put on, I also have an electric car. When I got solar, when I got that, things are moving around quite a bit. So it's a bit hard to see. But generally from, I'd say, April until October, my utility bill is the service fee. And that includes driving in my car.
Yeah.
So charging up, that includes everything. So that whole part of the year is great. No utility bill. The worst utility bill I'll have is usually in the winter time. The coldest month, January, February. I think the most I had this year was about $200 for it, which isn't bad.
And this is about 1,800 square foot, or
it's 1,650 square feet for the first and second floor. Probably another 650, 700 square feet for the basement.
Okay, so about 2,200 conditioned.
Which comparing to other people that I know in brand new homes with standard equipment, kind of the way that a lot of home builders are building stuff now, they're getting $300, $400 heating bills.
Well, and your prices are really going to fluctuate too, right? And that's not necessarily how many kilowatts you're using. That's going to be kind of standard to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Prices are going to fluctuate. Gas prices are going to fluctuate. Electricity prices. Yeah. But you're generating electricity with the solar, so you're controlling some of those variables.
And that's a great point. Just having that solar on the house, that helps kind of insulate you from what's going on out there. The utility company could raise their price on electricity, and still from April to October, I'm using all the electricity that I generate. I don't care what their electricity rate is because I'm making it all myself.
All right. Well, thanks, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you showing us around the electric house.
Yeah.
Thanks again, everybody. It's not all electrification here.
I spend my evenings getting real messy with clay.
Awesome. And you said you built this system?
Yeah. So pottery has really taken off as a hobby. It's a simple device. It's basically a motor and a wheel. And I thought, well, I can probably do that myself. And so, it's got components from all sorts of different things. It has a pedal from a Yamaha keyboard for a speed control. The wheel head on here is a aluminum disc sander disc. The motor in there is from an electric e-bike conversion kit. So I kind of pieced it together from all sorts of different things, and it works. It works the way it's supposed to. It can spin around and everything.
That is awesome. Alex, you are a true engineer here. And what kind of stuff are you making?
So I make a lot of different tableware and decorative things. One of my newest things that I've been doing is espresso sets. So these are, for your morning espresso.
That's so cool.
I do some decorative ones as well. So this is a planter for my sister-in-law that I'm about to deliver pretty soon. As with most of my other hobbies, it just escalated out of control. And so now I sell pottery to friends and family, and I have a website. And
tell us the name of the website.
So aylceramics.com. And you can find me on Instagram at aylceramics.
AYL Ceramics. Awesome. Thanks again, Alex. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Alex Long for sharing the art and science of home electrification. Be sure to check out part 1 of this series and all of the episodes at the Electric Home Show. Thanks for watching, and go Illini! I'm Aaron Stash. Thanks for watching the Electric Home Show. Like and subscribe for more. If you're an industry professional interested in joining our network, reach out to us at electrichomecompany.com. Thanks for watching.